Welcome to the University of Rio Grande for another edition of Safety Net. Our special guest today is Josh Davies, the police chief for the village of Rio Grande. Stay tuned. Welcome to Safety Net. My name is Scott Borden. I'm the campus police chief for the University of Rio Grande. And like I said, our special guest today is Josh Davies, the chief of the village of Rio Grande Police Department. What we're going to do is something a little bit different this week. In the spirit of Christmas, still close to the holidays, there is a retired Ohio State Highway Patrol captain, Mr. Robert Welsh, who is a professional storyteller and has become very renowned around the state of Ohio and probably nationwide now, that tells stories, and he has a special one called My Christmas Eve. If you go to YouTube, has over 3.5 million hits, which is just truly amazing that many people would watch that, and it's a very, very good 5 minutes worth of your life. I actually send it out to all the employees at the university every year and get back feedback about how teary-eyed they become, and it is just really a heartwarming story. What happened this year is the California Highway Patrol, some of their people saw this and decided to put this stand-up story to life and did just an excellent 5-minute video telling this story that Captain Welsh told about his career, and we'd like to show that to you right now and hope you enjoy and have something to wipe your tears away.
The hour's late, should go to bed, near midnight, I believe. But memories keep me wide awake this snowy Christmas Eve. Yes, memories of my kids moved on, each has their separate life, and how the holidays have changed since angels took my wife. The toys, the food, the Christmas cheer, my wife would bear the load, 'cause I work most holidays, state trooper on the road. Just sitting in my easy chair, so many years retired, I reminisce of times gone by and all that has transpired. Of all the many happenings that seem to come to light, a multitude of them occurred right on this very night. A drunken woman in a wreck who died on Christmas Eve leaves memories of a tragic case most people can't believe. I had to drive to where she lived to tell her next of kin. Found the rundown mobile home she had been living in. The person answering the door I still recall today, a little girl about 4 years old. She said, "I'm Sue McKay." I asked her if her dad was home and felt the longest pause. She said, "My daddy ran away. You must be Santa Claus. My mommy said you'd come tonight if I just stayed in bed and bring a pretty doll for me. It's what my mommy said." Broke the rules that Christmas Eve, did not call child's care. They'd merely put her in a room, and that I couldn't bear. I picked her up, took her home. My wife tucked her in bed and wrapped a pretty doll for her, just like Mommy said. Adopted by a loving home, and soon they moved away. I won't forget that Christmas Eve and little Sue McKay. Another bitter Christmas Eve, a blizzard to behold that had left a family in a ditch, just trapped there in the cold. By grace of God, I spotted them, all cold and gaunt with fright, drove them to a motel room to safely spend the night. One Christmas Eve, a homeless man, shivering and wet, was trying hard to get a ride I'm sure he'd never get. I picked him up and drove him to a diner on the hill to warm his bones, left him with a $5 bill. Strange how when you're all alone, what memories you recall. Think of everything you've done, and was it worth it all? Think about my God, my job, my children, and my wife. Would I do it all the same? Could I relive my life? Then comes a knock upon my door. This late, who could it be? A neighbor, or has Santa Claus come to visit me? The figure standing in the cold gives me a sudden fright. trooper with that solemn look. Dear God, who's died tonight? Flashing back to bygone years, how I'd often stood on someone's porch to bring them news, and it was never good. Is this how life gets back at me for misery I've induced, where pain I've caused some other folks has now come home to roost? But looking in the trooper's eyes, my mind is in a whirl. I see a pleasant countenance. The trooper is a girl. She smiled and reached to shake my hand, and silence wasn't broke till a tear rolled down her cheek, and then she softly spoke. I'm sure you don't remember me, but thought I'd stop and say, God bless you on this Christmas Eve. I'm Trooper Sue McKay.
Well, there's probably not a whole lot you can say after that. California Highway Patrol did an excellent job with that. That hasn't been out that long, and it's had over 350,000 views on it already. They did a great job. Captain Welsh is just an amazing man with his storytelling, and when I went through the academy, he was a captain or a lieutenant in the academy, and he's just one of those guys that you wanted to inspire to be, and probably a lot of the reason that I was able to spend 33 years in the Highway Patrol and make it through the academy. So just a great man and a great story. And one of the comments I saw on this that displays, just talks about all of it, was in 5 minutes, this story was able to say what really being a police officer was. And I think today, being the law enforcement day for the nation, that pretty much says it. Is all the good and the bad that's in that sort of talks about what it really is like being a police officer. So we thank both of them for that story. Today, Josh Davies, Chief of the Rio Grande Village Police Department, welcome you here.
Thank you for having me.
You're obviously very familiar with the campus, as you know, we'll let you get into it a little bit here, as you know, you used to be an officer at the campus.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess if you could just maybe briefly, or as long as you want to, detail your career, how you got into law enforcement, where you've been, how you got to this point.
Well, I started my law enforcement career in 2007. I went through the academy at Buckeye Hills Career Center from September of 06 through May of 2007. I'm actually now currently an instructor at the police academy at Buckeye Hills. I received my first commission with the Gallatin County Sheriff's Office as soon as I passed my state test in 2007. After getting my commission there in 2007, I came to the University of Rio Grande Police Department as a full-time officer in August of 2007, where I maintained one all the way through till April of 2009. Also, while I was here at the university as a police officer, I worked part-time for the village of Syracuse from May of 2008 till July of 2009. I then left the University of Rio Grande and moved to the village of Rio Grande, where I became a part-time police officer in April of 2009. And I worked through the ranks there from a part-time officer to a full-time officer, as well as sergeant, lieutenant, and then now I've taken over as chief, as well as canine handler. I was promoted to sergeant August of 2011, and then I became full-time January of 2012. I'm sorry. Then I became a canine handler in June of 2012, and then lieutenant in March of 2014, and I've taken the chief spot as of January of 2018.
What's your total time in law enforcement? About 10 years? Or a bit?
12 years.
12 years.
Going on 12 years this year.
12 years. Obviously, it's a big change. You've had a unique perspective in many ways. As one, you've sort of like the Highway Patrol does. You start trooper, sergeant, you go up through the ranks, and you've had all the ranks at the village police as an officer, and then sergeant, lieutenant, and chief. What have you seen as the biggest challenge or the biggest difference between going from an officer to chief? What's that big difference that would make people understand the difference?
There's a very big difference. Just to be an officer, you are responsible for yourself and handling your calls and your reports and protecting the citizens that travel through the community, enforce traffic violations and criminal law. As you progress through, then you have to get into more administrative roles of making sure not only your officers' reports are correct and precise, charges are done correct, things are submitted to the state within a timely fashion, making sure scheduling, all administrative duties. So it's a big difference going from just a road officer to a administrator over a whole department.
Well, you take over a lot of liability, obviously, and my trainer, I guess my coach as a training coach when I was a trooper said the easiest job you'll ever have is a trooper because you only have to worry about yourself. And then when you become a sergeant, you have to worry about your shift, and now that you're a chief, and where I'm at here is you have to worry about everybody, not only the liability, their safety, their training, and everybody. And as we all know in life, it's easier to take care of yourself than a whole bunch of people. So talk a little bit about the jurisdiction for the village of Rio Grande, because everybody knows, you get State Patrol has their jurisdiction, and the sheriff has theirs, but basically what's the jurisdiction for the village?
The jurisdiction for the village is about 1.2 square miles with a population of 830 citizens inside of the village. We are a part-time department where we operate about 20 of the 24 hours a day. Those other hours where we don't have coverage, where we're not here, the sheriff's office handles those calls for us, or if they can get a hold of one of us, then we come out. That doesn't count any commuters through the university or any students that live in the dorms. So during the school year, our population increases when the university's in school, and then obviously during the off time at the university, our population then decreases.
And you have a mayor. Your boss is obviously the mayor, and you serve at the discretion of the mayor. Much like a city, if they have a city manager, but you have a mayor. And in my opinion, you have a very good mayor. Matt Easter has been very, very good to the university since I've been here. We try to help you guys, and he makes you guys available, and you guys have been great for us. You probably saw something recently about the sidewalks and the speed bumps, and he was very instrumental in that to help keep the students safe. And our students are your citizens, so we're on the same page there. And that's one of the unique things that you have is do you see any challenges, or benefits or challenges or anything that goes along with having a university right smack in the middle of your jurisdiction?
There's definitely some unique challenges where we have students that come from different backgrounds, or from different countries that come to the University of Rio Grande to get an education. So trying to bridge that gap between them and the way things are in their home country versus the United States or in our area, it sometimes can be challenging, but also at times it can be very, very beneficial to learn how things are in their country, or they see how things are done in law enforcement and our profession in our country versus the way it's done in theirs, and they appreciate things like that.
Well, and it's like any population, 99% of the kids are really good. I mean, you know, I guess you think you have a university or a college in your areas that just got trouble all the time, but we, you know, we rarely have any incidents, and
we usually don't. And one thing that I think that is a very good thing that we have around here is our faculty and staff, and I can't speak highly enough for the coaching staff and the athletic director, Jeff Lanham, for the way that, you know, they allow their students and put their students in volunteer to help with things throughout the village, or, you know, at our elementary school, the students are, and they're very, very part of the village. You know, if we have something and we need volunteers or want help with something, it's usually very nice that the university allows their students to help. That is a very, very big thing that I think is nice around here. It's, you know, a small community, but they help a lot.
oh, they're great. And what keeps a lot of the problems away are the fact you talked about the coaches. The coaches do a very good job of keeping their kids in line, and Dina Warren, the Dean of Students, does a great job, and a lot of the stuff is internal, so it doesn't really have the opportunity to get outside of here into your village, so that really helps a lot. Being an officer, a campus officer, prior to your position now, does that give you a better insight into how the students think and how to treat them and to make it better for them?
I always have believed that you treat someone how you want to be treated. So if regardless of who you are, if I wouldn't want to be treated any different if I was being dealt with by law enforcement versus anybody else. That's something that I believe and I've always stuck to. And I think if I continue that with people that I'm dealing with, I think that's more appreciated than, you know, I wouldn't want to treat someone bad and then them turn around and feel bad about that, or they get that brings bad light to law enforcement. So I'm a firm believer, and I have our guys all the time tell them, if, you know, treat someone how you would want to be treated. And being part of the university prior to that has kind of opened my eyes to the way it is, and it brings light. And there's a couple of my officers that work for the village that currently are still working for the university as either a part-time or full-time employee, so it works very well.
Well, and the students, for my 8 years, if you know, big thing we always talk about is dignity and respect, and if you treat them with dignity and respect, a great deal of the time, almost all the time, they will give you back that dignity and respect. What are some of the crime trends that you're dealing with inside the village, things that you see, things you're trying to prevent, just the overall crime picture?
We usually see a lot of property crime, traffic offenses, burglaries, and drugs. You know, it's kind of the same as everywhere else. We're seeing a lot of what everybody else is, and family violence. We see that a lot through everywhere, and it's just a lot of the trends kind of across the board here with us, just like they are with anybody else.
Well, and the thing with the village is basically a city. It's just got a different name, and what we often say, and you know when you worked here, is the dorms and the university is almost like a city within itself, so you see the same things that happened out in society. What are some of the special programs you do within the village to try to, one, combat some of the things that you're talking about in the crimes, and two, the community policing that I know that you're into?
Our guys, we have a couple of apartment complexes here in the village. Our guys, while they're out on patrol, they'll stop at the apartment complexes and get out of the car, play with the kids, talk to the kids. We have an officer that goes to the elementary school throughout the week. Sometimes we'll go up there and go out to recess and play in recess with the kids, or just go be seen in the school, and that's a big thing that we have. We also do a Halloween block party where we bring in, last year we brought in dinosaurs. It's open to the general public. We have the fire department, police department, our canines there, and people throughout the community come and pass out candy. And one of our local churches bring in, you know, whether it's hot dogs and hot chocolate or some type of food and drinks to give out as well for free. We have a shop with a cop program that we do. Basically, we go to our elementary school. We select kids through the elementary school, take them to a local store, and get their Christmas for them. And then we also started last year participating with the Gay County Sheriff's Office and the Gallipolis City Police Department with a Cops for Kids program.
Well, that's, community policing is, obviously where it's at. If you're going to try to do the dignity and respect and let people know what you're there to do, and you guys do a good job of that. The national drug problem, it's obviously a national problem, actually probably a world problem, but what you see through all your ranks and now as chief inside the village is yours any different than the national trend? Is it less, more, about the same?
I think we're having that drug problem everywhere, so it's really the same as everywhere else.
And you guys have another unique thing, keep saying the word unique, but you got 2 available canine units. So if you want to maybe talk about, because another unique thing is not only your chief, you're a canine officer, and then you have 2 canine officers, which a lot of big departments don't have 2 canines. So if you want to sort of expand on that a little bit.
Yes, in 2012, we had talked about wanting to have a canine program. We initially started it out of funding from donations to the general public. We went and got permission from our council. They approved it. We started, I believe, around March of 2012 to do our funding. Put it in the papers and got very good support from within the community. And by June, I was already certified through the state of Ohio and nationally with my canine Smilla. She's a 7-year-old German Shepherd. And then we received another canine. An officer came to our department, had his own canine, and he is also Vargo, and I believe he is 5 years old. Both dogs go home with the handlers. Both dogs live with the handlers. We are very fortunate. We go out and do a lot of demos with our dogs throughout the area at the elementary school and local churches, and let the kids see the dogs, pass out playing cards. The thing we have with it is ours is completely off of donations. It's never any money from the general public has been put into it. It's all been done off of funding by donations.
Obviously some things you can't go into detail, but is there any cases that you're allowed to talk about, or any significant seizures that you'd be able to expand on just to show the success?
Yeah, we had one in particular seizure. I believe it was May of last year, or 2017 or 2018. I was called for to assist the highway patrol on 35, where we seized 439 grams of methamphetamine traveling through our county. Well,
do you have any idea the street value of that, or just a guess? Or probably pretty significant.
$40,000 to $50,000.
Well, and even more than the money is the potential lives that it saved, and,
yes.
And that's pretty much what it's all about. We talk about the difference between like a village and a city and stuff. Is that most cities have a court, and we talked earlier about your Mayor Easter, but you guys actually have a mayor's court. So we had the municipal judge on, Judge Mulford, last month. So maybe you can just talk just a little bit about the difference between a municipal court and a mayor's court.
Yeah. Mayor's court is basically similar to municipal court, but we don't see as many type of cases. We don't see any civil type cases or anything like that. Our main things that we put through it are mostly traffic citations, crash, and if someone's involved in a crash and they received a citation there. We do some criminal offenses. We don't get violent criminal offenses if it was a domestic violence or an assault or things like that. We usually will just send them into Gallipolis Municipal Court instead of the Village of Rio Grande Mayor's Court.
So if someone contested it, my understanding is most of the time they'll go to the municipal court then, right?
Yes, they can have a court trial through the Village of Rio Grande if they wanted to, or they can have it transferred to the city of Gallipolis. That option is always available for any offense or any charge that's brought into the Village of Rio Grande Mayor's Court.
I've asked all the sheriff and the Gallipolis police chief the same thing. You're probably going to give the same answer that they're going to give, but if there's anything that you could have for the village police as a wish list to help fight crime and help to make the village safer, what are some of the things? Most of them say money, and that's probably on your...
I would say money. We're very blessed that our village council and our mayor and all them support us very well, and we get great support through the village. I would say money, but I would say manpower as well. Not having enough officers, you can never have enough officers in the area.
One of the questions just came in from a viewer. It said that the rockets over Rio.
Yes.
That's obviously a big deal and a big thing. Do you have any idea on the numbers? It's several thousand.
I believe it's $12,000 that was raised last year. I don't know the exact. I know it was a significant amount, and I do know this year he's already started the funding and is already accepting his donations for it, because he wants, every year he just has made it grow more and more and more, and I think that's still his goal, is to continue to make it bigger as the years go by.
Well, and you obviously have thousands of people there and stuff. If you could maybe throw out a couple safety tips, because there's, a lot of people come there obviously, and just, obviously the drinking and the being aware of pedestrians, but do you have anything other than that, or just to reemphasize those? Or?
Yes, we do have a lot of pedestrian traffic. A lot of the village community walks to the area, so I would say make sure for pedestrian traffic, expect delays, and if you're driving, because there is a lot of vehicles that are trying to get here that we understand we're trying to get out at that time, and it will take time. You will expect delays. We have, I believe, 5 or 6 intersections that we're trying to work, and when it's done, we're backed up at every one of those intersections, trying to get them out as quickly as we can, but as safely as we can.
We've got about a minute left, and since it is National Law Enforcement Day, and things I've discussed with the other chiefs and the sheriff, is obviously cooperation between departments is a big deal. Mm-hmm. And obviously, like I've already said, and I've said on every show, I mean, our cooperation with the village police has been outstanding in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But just maybe your overview of the local law enforcement cooperation and how important it is in about 26 seconds.
I'll try and make it quick. We have a very good, I would say, relationship with the university, with the Gallipolis City Police Department, with the Gallia County Sheriff's Office, and as well as our local prosecutors, both at the village, municipal, and common pleas court. We all work well together. If someone needs something, we all work. If one doesn't have it, we don't hesitate to call the other to help. Or if you're on a scene of any crime and there's something that needs to be done and you need help, we will help as best as we can. It's really nice to have that type of relationship, and not only also with the Highway Patrol. I can't forget the help that the Highway Patrol has provided and as well.
No, that's great, and I don't think it could get any better down here. So, well, Chief, I appreciate your time. This has gone really fast. I think you helped let everybody know who the Rio Village Police are and what they do and how they keep the community safe, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.